Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing this week's Midweek Magic event. Midweek Magic being the weekly free events, and Omniscience Draft is the format for this week where you can cast everything completely for free. It leads to some incredibly explosive, incredibly chaotic games and turns. Sometimes you can even kill your opponent on turn 1 if you have enough card draw in your deck. Since all of your card draw spells are free, you can draw like your whole deck and then try to cast a bunch of creatures, give everything haste, and get one big swing. So really explosive draft format, pretty interesting one, and because it is completely free, it is fun to just hop in and get your random rare rewards. So without further ado, let's hop into the Omniscience Draft. So one thing to note here before we get into the draft, just so we don't rare draft anything, is that because it is a midweek Magic draft, it is a phantom draft. We won't be keeping any of these cards. We're just playing them for the duration of the event, trying to unlock those prizes on the tracker for our first 3 wins. So don't rare draft anything here, just take cards that are good in the Omniscience Draft format, and cards that are good in the Omniscience Draft format are primarily cards that draw you extra cards to keep the chain going and looping through your deck. So 2 great options here. We have Repulse, return a creature to its owner's hand and draw a card, which interestingly enough is going to be used much differently than usual. Usually you're going to use this against your opponent as a great tempo play, making them bounce their really high mana value creature and recast them the next turn, but since everything's free, in Omniscience Draft, you're probably casting this on your own creature, ideally something like a Loan Shark that draws you a card when you cast it, when it enters the battlefield. And in Omniscience Draft, since everything is completely free, it is criminally easy to have cast 2 or more spells in the turn that you play the Loan Shark. You just cast your other 0 mana spell first, then cast your Loan Shark to get your card draw off of that, then maybe Repulse it later and stuff like that. So Loan Shark or Repulse are the great options here, but I'm going to go for the Repulse to start things off. Now for pick 2, we have a Hollow Marauder, another incredible option. This is going to hit the board and make your opponent discard a card no matter what. What we're really hoping is that they have to discard a lower mana value card, in which case we get to draw a card when we play it as well, to again keep looping through our deck. And in Omniscience Draft, you start with 3 card hands, so they're not going to have a lot of options for what to discard, so it's not that unlikely that we might be able to actually draw a card off of this. Or if the game does last long enough, usually each player is going to end up with 0 cards in hand because everything you can cast is free, so you might as well dump your hand out, try to get as much power on the board as quickly as possible. And if your opponent has no cards in hand, then this is just guaranteed drawing you a card. So we'll take the Hollow Marauder here, but Vault Plunder is another option. This is much more consistent card draw. You know it's always going to draw you a card when you play it, but it is significantly smaller than the Hollow Marauder, and when the Hollow Marauder draws you a card, it's doing even more work. It's making your opponent discard one and you draw one, so take the Hollow Marauder there. Pick 3, a very easy make your own luck. This is just straight up a draw 3. Excellent way to hit a big chunk of spells and really get through your deck. You may plot a spell with this, but in Omniscience Draft, since you can cast everything for 0 mana anyway, it's better to just not plot your card, because if you plot it, you're just saying, alright, I'm not going to play this till next turn. Pick 4, we get another Hollow Marauder. That seems excellent, although we could go for more consistent card draw with the Loan Shark, or a draw 2 with Hypothesizzle. Honestly, I think the Hypothesizzle for the draw 2 is probably the best pick. You're just always supposed to go for the highest number of card draw so you can get ahead in cards and really dig through that deck. So I'll take Hypothesizzle here, but I think Hollow Marauder probably second best, Loan Shark third best, and those are all miles ahead of everything else in the pack. For pick 5, we have 2 really sweet options. First and foremost, we have Crom for a good card draw engine. Crom's only going to draw us 1 card per turn because that ability is restricted to once per turn, and if Crom isn't in our opening hand, if we top deck Crom later in the game, Crom's not going to draw a card the turn that we cast him, because we'll have drawn him off of casting our first spell for turn, like a Make Your Own Luck or a Pulse or Hypothesizzle or something, in which case Crom will be the second spell and won't be able to get his trigger there. So good card draw, but not excellent card draw. The card I'm going to take here is the Cactus Folk Sure Shot. This is a way to kill your opponent on turn 1. If you draw enough cards and get far enough ahead with all your draw 3s and draw 2s, you can dump enough power on board with this to maybe just haste your opponent out of the game. So we'll take the Cactus Folk Sure Shock. It gives your whole board of beefy creatures haste. For pick 6, we have two pretty sweet options. One of them is the Irascible Wolverine, but I think I'm going to pass up on this, and this is because of the way that the Omniscience emblem works. So the Omniscience emblem is letting you cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. So if you have too many cards like the Irascible Wolverine that are trying to cast cards from exile or from your graveyard or anything else like that, you could end up with not enough mana because you only get access to 1 mana of each color from the emblem per turn. So if I end up playing 2 copies of Irascible Wolverine, I'm probably going to only draw the card off of the first copy, because if I Wolverine into a Make Your Own Luck, boom, I have to use all 5 of my emblem mana to cast that. And then if I, do another Wolverine later, whatever I exile, even if it's like a cheap card like Repulse, is just not castable for the turn. So Wolverine, a little less consistent card draw, but still decent in the format. The other issue is if we have enough high mana value cards like Hollow Marauder, we just literally won't be able to cast it at all, even if it is the first card we exile per turn. So I'm going to go for Corrupted Conviction here over the Irascible Wolverine. Because you're not going to play any lands, we're going to be running 40 out of the 42 cards that we get to draft. So we're going to end up with some filler, and often that's going to be just filler mediocre creatures. Turning one of those filler mediocre creatures into a draw 2 is massive in the Omniscience format, so we'll take that Corrupted Conviction. Now we've got 2 main options here for pick 7. We have Sterling Hound, which is definitely the more omnisciency drafty card. It's gonna set up your draws, make sure that you're not hitting any of your filler and trying to dig towards one of your big pieces of card draw. So that would be the more consistent card for just trying to combo through your deck like you want to do on Omniscience. But I'm going to go for Eartha Joe because we could randomly find a big activated ability to try to double up with this thing, and that would be a pretty fun card to do something explosive with if we can find it. And since Sterling Hound isn't full-on card draw, we can pass up on it for something a little more interesting. For pick 8, we have Failed Forwarding, which can pick up something like a Hollow Marauder or a Loan Shark or something to recast it and draw another card. So it's a little bit narrow, but we can turn it into more card draw. Or we can take Humiliate, which is also a little bit narrow. You basically have to have this on turn 1, but if you do, you can look at your opponent's hand and hopefully discard their big draw 3 or something to make it less likely that they chain through their deck. So Humiliate, which is, again, pretty narrow. You need it in your opening hand. Your opponent's not going to have any cards in hand later in the game. Or Failed Forwarding, which is pretty narrow. You need to draw it after you draw creatures with good enter the battlefield effects. Either way, we could draw this card at the wrong time and then it doesn't really do anything. But they're both, I think, better than just like a 2-mana 2/2. I'm just going to go full combo, no interaction style, and grab a Failed Forwarding here. For pick 9, we have 2 very filler creatures. And then we have 2 very filler, crime-committing cards. The Bandit's Hall looks like it would be decent in this format, but because it only triggers once each turn, this is going to draw us a card at maximum once every other turn, and we're going to have to spend 2 of our emblem mana to do it, so pretty weak card draw for the format. And then Raven, again, because it's only committing once per turn, is pretty small, pretty insignificant for the format. I guess Sheriff of Safe Passage could be okay. After we draw most of our deck, it'll be bigger than just like a 2/2 like Treasure Dredger. Our options are a 2/2 or something that's hopefully bigger than a 2/2 later. I don't know. Not a great pack there. Here's a Tornado, which we can cycle away just to draw the next card in our deck. We'd have to spend some emblem mana for that, which is a little rough, but I think it's still a little better than Sterling Hound, and certainly better than Prickly Pear. Now for pick 11, we'll just get a big flyer with the Djinn of Fool's Fall. We do want to have most of our creatures be power 4 or greater for the Cactus Folk Sure Shot. So if we have options between a filler creature with less than 4 power and a filler creature with 4 power or greater, we're always going to take the bigger one. And the biggest in this pack is the Djinn. For pick 12, we now have Outlaw's Fury, which is interesting. If we get an Outlaw on board, we can use this to draw the next card out of our deck. Alternatively, we can take Betrayal at the Vault as a way to clear out some of our opponent's creatures if we're not just like combo killing turn 1 or anything. I feel like I'll take Betrayal at the Vault here over Outlaw's Fury because not only is it just a cantrip, it's just drawing our next card, but it's drawing our next card only if we have an Outlaw on board and only if we have enough mana left from our emblem to cast it. So it's like really, really narrow draw 1. Pick 13, we are not playing lands. Actually, we will play Lava Spur Boots, I guess. We use 1 emblem mana to turn our thing into a hasty ward threat. Seems decent. So what do we have for pack 2, pick number 1? Some incredible options here for sure. We have a Slick Shot Lockpicker. This can recast a Make Your Own Luck or a Hypothesis from our grave if we are lucky, and that would be incredible. Obviously, we'll have to spend all of our emblem mana to do that since we'll be casting a spell from our grave, but both of those are 5 mana, so we can do that if we haven't spent emblem mana yet. Alternatively, we have that Loan Shark, which looks incredible in this format and a little more consistent than Lockpicker. Or we have Take the Fall. This is always going to draw us a card as long as there's a creature on board, so we can just cycle that away. I think these are the 3 best cards in the pack, but Heartless Pillage is also pretty great if you have it in your opening hand, because everybody starts with 3 cards in hand. You get your opponent down to just 1 card left, and if that 1 card isn't like a Hypothesis or Make Your Own Luck, some kind of draw 2 or draw 3, that can often just get them out of the game. So I think I'm going to go for the Slick Shot Lockpicker here because it is the potentially most explosive of all of these. But I think, again, all 3 of these are really nice for the format. For pack 2, pick 2, we have a really sweet pack. So we have Repulse here. Return a creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. Obviously, you can loop something like a Slick Shot Lockpicker. That'd be pretty nasty. But we have a card that I think could be really, really explosive in this format, which is the Intimidation Campaign. So this is one of the few cards that triggers every time you commit a crime, instead of just once per turn when you commit a crime. And the reason is because you have to keep recasting it to do anything with it. So that is kind of the self-limiter there, is that you don't have infinite mana. Well, in Omniscience Draft, you have infinite mana. So if we can keep playing any other spells that commit crimes to our opponent, we get to add a draw card onto those every single time and really get through our deck. So if we have this in our opening hand, we immediately cycle it away, draw another card. Then when we play our Hollow Marauder, we draw another card off of that. If we Hypothesis a creature, we draw another card off of that. If we Tornado a flyer, if we repulse an opposing creature, if we failed forwarding an opposing creature. And we can look around and see if there's any combos with this, because there are some really consistent ways to commit crimes, like multiple times, even just in like 1 turn, in which case you can completely go crazy with this thing. So let's grab the Intimidation Campaign here. Not a ton going on pick 3. We have Corrupted Conviction again to sacrifice one of our filler creatures to draw 2. Keep the ball rolling. Alternatively, the Binding Negotiation for discard, but I've already said several times why I don't love running the discard. It's only great turn 1. Blood Hustler's fine, I guess. We can spend 4 emblem mana to commit a crime to try to go with our Intimidation Campaign, but I think it's going to be better to just be casting free spells trying to commit crimes. Pick 4 here, we could take a really massive creature like a Bounding Felidar, just more 4-power creatures to go with the Sure Shot, but really like just playing everything that tries to loop through the deck, and This Town Ain't Big Enough is a card to do that. It can pick up our Intimidation Campaign or our Hollow Marauder. Hopefully we can get some of the Loan Sharks eventually to try to do those with that as well. And there's no straight up card draw in this pack. There's a Demonic Ruckus, which draws us a card when it leaves the battlefield, and a Hindering Light that draws us a card if our opponent tries to cast something at us. So I think those are a little less consistent than This Town Ain't Big Enough, and I'm going to grab that here. Now we have a Discerning Peddler, which is pretty fine in the format. We can discard one of the filler cards we have to main deck to try to draw into something better. Dig through the deck. Yep, nothing else in the pack looks great for the format. Pick 6, we have 2 different draw 1 cards. We have Outlaw's Fury to draw 1 only if we have an Outlaw on board, and we have to use Emblem Mana to cast that card, or we have Reckless Lackey, which draws us 1 card, but we have to use 3 Emblem Mana to do it. Alternatively, we can just take like a Shoot the Sheriff, try to have some removal if things don't pan out. But I'm just going to say things are going to pan out, and I'm going to take the Reckless Lackey. Okay, this could be super wrong, but pick 7, because we have 2 Corrupted Convictions, and because we're trying to maybe win on turn 1 with like Cactus Folk Sure Shot, I'm going to take this take for a ride. If the game goes long, maybe we get to steal our opponent's creature and sack it to the Corrupted Conviction, and if we are like on the draw, maybe we get to cast a bunch of creatures of our own and then steal their biggest creature and try to kill them with it. This is probably wrong, but I am going to take it here because it is funny and fun. Ooh, pick 8. I feel like Return the Favor is probably completely explosive in this format. You can counter your opponent's draw 2 or draw 3 or something, and then also draw the cards yourself. I guess... No, these don't target players. Yeah, you look at the top 3, you draw the 2 cards, so you can't actually counter their spell. You just copy it and have one for yourself. Yeah, you can't change the target and get their card draw. So I guess that's actually just like a more narrow Seize the Secrets, because they're still going to be able to draw 2 or draw 3 every time. All you're doing is borrowing their spell, so we might as well just play our own Seize the Secrets, because we can always just cast that and draw 2 immediately instead of having to wait for our opponent to hopefully cast their own. Yeah. Alright, it still looks really fun in this format, but I don't think I can take it over just a straight up draw 2 that's super consistent. If this weren't in the pack, I would slam dunk the Return the Favor. Still try to do some crazy things with that. Ooh, let's go. We got the Lone Shark pick 9. We're really happy with that. We've got Repulse, Failed Fording, and this town ain't big enough, so we need more creatures with great enter the battlefield effects and draw a card. That is the greatest enter the battlefield effect for this format. Pick 10, Outlaw Medic is probably the best filler creature for our deck, considering the double Corrupted Conviction to go with it. But we could also just take a power 4 or greater creature, because we need enough of those to randomly win off of Sure Shot sometimes. And I think we're actually doing pretty good on like card draw looping nonsense, so I'll take the Quilled Charger here. I think that's on average going to be a tiny bit bigger than Sheriff of Safe Passage. Here's another 4 power creature so that it gets haste if we hit the Sure Shot. Here's a gigantic 4 power creature. We could Hindering Light here, but I'm going to go for the big old Felidar, make sure we have some win-conditioned creatures in here, and now I'm feeling pretty good on just having some amount of beef, because we're going to draw so much of our deck so much of the time. I don't think we need too many big creatures, so we can spend this entire pack on card draw. Well, so much for spending the whole pack on card draw, because we've opened up 0 card draw here. We have a Murder, kill their biggest creature. We've got the big Spinewoods Paladin for the biggest kind of hasty threat we can try to get with the Cactus Folk Sure Shot. We have a flying threat that works with the Sure Shot, or a flying threat that doesn't with the Marauding Sphinx, but the Sphinx could surveil as we're doing some stuff, doing some crimes. These are all just reasonable options. I don't think that there is like a best card here by a lot or anything like that. I'm just going to take the Murder, have a tiny bit of removal. Pack 3, pick 2 looks pretty excellent. We've got another Hollow Marauder that I'm just going to grab here, but a Take the Fall is reasonable. A Shepherd of the Clouds could also be okay, because we are potentially sacrificing some creatures to the Corrupted Conviction. This can pick one of them back up and recast that as well. But I think Hollow Marauder is just much better up front. It's more consistent. And let's roll with it here. Pack 3, pick 3, we've got that Irascible Wolverine for 8 draw 1. We have Endless Detour for really flexible interaction. Or we have the coolest and funnest card for this format that I'm going to absolutely take here, the Outlaw Stitcher. This thing can make like a 20/20 zombie rogue in this format because you're casting so many spells in each turn. This is like the funnest kind of finisher you can have in the format, and I'm really happy I opened up in a pack without any draw twos or even any full-on draw ones. We only have the exile draw one so that we can afford to actually spend our pick on this, because this is like one of the funnest attempted win conditions. Just storm off and make a gigantic zombie. Okay, pick number 4, we get another Hollow Marauder. It's a pretty simple pick there. And one of the things that's also sweet about the Hollow Marauder, it commits a crime. So our intimidation campaign keeps getting a little bit more consistent as we take more of these Hollow Marauders. Pick 5, we now have a tremendously filler pack. We have the very narrow Fake Your Own Death that does work really well if we have our Fling or our Corrupted Conviction. We can Fake Your Own Death on a good Enter the Battlefield effect with that card. That's the most combo piece out of all of these cards, but all of the creatures are less than 4 power. So none of these creatures get hasted with the Sure Shot. None of these cards draw a card. And the removal's pretty narrow, just 4 damage. I guess we could take a Throw from the Saddle. That's probably slightly better than Derailment. And Rise of the Varmints I just don't think is going to be really a thing at all. I think just a pretty bad pack for this format. We take something filler no matter what. I guess another filler creature's not terrible. No, we're on 16 creatures. I was going to say, with the double Corrupted Conviction, we do want a decent amount of filler creatures, but we're on 16 already. And obviously we have tons of card draw to hit the few filler creatures that we have already. I don't know. I don't love this. I'll just take another crime here. I'll go for the Row from the Saddle. Pick 6, I'm going to go ahead and take the Fall. This is just a straight up draw one. You can always cast the next card, but sometimes with the Wolverine we might not be able to because we already have a few other cards that want to use our emblem mana. Let's grab the Take the Fall. Mourner's Surprise would not be unplayable here either because we have like the double conviction, so if we sack a decent creature we can Mourner's Surprise it back to try to draw another card. Pick 7. I don't think the games are going to go long enough to try to mill somebody out with Desperado, but if they're good enough at drawing cards, we don't need to mill them that much for this to actually mill them out of the game. So that's kind of interesting, kind of cute. I think I would rather just take the Djinn of Fool's Fall, though. Another 4 power threat. Here's another Djinn for another 4 power threat. The Pulverizer can find like extra damage with the ping, but I feel like Evasiveness just flying is going to play a little bit better, a little bit more consistent, because this does have to be on the board for several turns to get that extra damage. You can't combo off in one turn, or else this Omniscience format would be wild. If this card was just every time you cast a spell other than your first, you get to deal the 2. Wow, you would just annihilate with that thing. But no, you have to keep using it turn after turn after turn. Pick 9, there's another 4 power creature, or there's the Shifting Grift. We can try to give our opponent our most mediocre creature and steal their big bomb or something. Pretty narrow, but can be pretty cool. I'm just going to take the Quilled Charger. Another draw 1. Take that over destroy 1. Mourner Surprise or Wolverine. Take the Wolverine. Take the Humiliate this time. And we need one more playable. There we go. Fake Your Own Death. Good enough. Good enough. That's my 40 cards. So yeah, you need to play literally every non-land card you pick. Now that we're using play boosters, you don't even get a little bit of flex room. Because we got a basic and a Sandstorm Verge, and those were... we had no other options, so yeah. You gotta make sure that you have ways to get rid of your more filler cards, like Corrupted Convictions. So that seems pretty good. Also, the Discerning Peddler seems really nice as well. Yeah, not much to say. This is an Omniscience draft. This is an Omniscience deck. We're taking all the card draw, some ways to give haste, and just trying to explode our opponent's face with a big combo-y turn. Let's just hop right into the gameplay. There's not really a simple way to to do a deck overview on Omniscience Draft, because this format is just weird and wild. We'll just hop right into the gameplay to show off how the deck works and how the format works. So here we are for the opening hand. We're on the play with just a draw 1. If I mulligan, I'm down to 2 cards in hand, but I'm basically already down to 2 cards in hand. My hand is Murder Take the Fall, so I'm going to take this mulligan and try to get a draw 3 or a draw 2 if we're really lucky. Okay, this is not any better, but we can just keep this 2 and pretend we kept the initial 3. It's basically the same thing. So keep 2, ditch Fling, and maybe just die because we have not hit... Oh my god, why does this have to do this? Okay, it's the middle. Might just get out card drawed by our opponent. These are pretty weak openers for Omniscience. If they have removal in the opener, they can counter the card draw. Yeah, that's nasty. Now we have nothing. There's Deep Muck Desperado from our opponent. And a 5/5 Flying Trample. As long as they don't cast a draw 2 or a draw 3 here, I'm feeling okay. Okay. Well, that's not a good draw. We're going to have to take 7 here. The Deadeye Duelist, sure. Oh, no attacks. I think they accidentally skipped through combat. We'll take that. That gives us a tiny bit of time. Does that give me the time to hold off on Lackey here just so I can cast more spells for the Stitcher when I do it? 5, 6, 7, 8. I think so. I think I'm just going to take one big swing and hold off on the Lackey for at least one more spell with the Stitcher. Turn after this. How does this work? Sack 3 other creatures, put a creature from your grave, from your hand onto the battlefield. Okay, so it doesn't do anything. Everything in their hand's already free. They're just not attacking? Are they toying with their food? Because that is not going to end how they want it to. If that is the case. Yeah, Hollow Marauder means this is the turn. Unless that last card's a counter spell here. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Oh, yeah. There's the Intimidation campaign, which is going to get picked up when we do the Hollow Marauder. Let's try to draw removal or a counter spell with all of our other more mediocre plays first. But then we drop the Hollow Marauder. And if it doesn't get countered, it is still going to pick up the Intimidation campaign, if nothing else. Even if they, like, kill it. I could cast Outlaw Stitcher here. I have no idea how many spells I've cast. Each spell you've cast, other than the first. So the first spell was Lackey. I also cast Seize the Secrets. It's 1, Charger, 2, Campaign, 3, Eartha Joe, 4. This would be a 10/10 zombie. That's big enough. And it's worse for me if they counter Hollow Marauder than if they counter Outlaw Stitcher. If they counter Outlaw Stitcher, I can still keep the loop going and Hollow Marauder into, like, my whole deck. But if they counter Hollow Marauder, then I'm just going to have 1 12/12. Oh, it already is a 12/12. Okay, 1 14/14, if I did this the other order. Quick draw. All right. Mill me 3. Sure. There's Corrupted Conviction. All right, let's go. Find Repulse. We can repulse the Outlaw Stitcher if I have enough other card draw, I guess. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're probably gonna repulse the Outlaw Stitcher. And then we're gonna draw our whole deck. We're gonna get the Sure Shot if they didn't mill it. They didn't mill the Sure Shot. Let's go. Oh my god. This feels nice, because they were definitely toying with their food a little bit here, but I think even if they didn't toy with their food, we would have been, like, barely alive, and then we would kill them with, like, 1 life off of all this. Let's see. Take the fall, draw a card, commit a crime, draw another card. There's the Sheriff, which is going to be massive with the Trample Haste. Okay, yeah, we just need to keep going until we draw into the Sure Shot, and then we can just kill them. Murder's a crime, which draws us another card. We don't need the boots because everything's already Trample Haste. Kill the 2/4, commit a crime, draw a card. Boom. There's the Humiliate. It doesn't really do much. What's our next card draw? We can Failed Fording their biggest creature, which picks up the Intimidation Campaign, lets us draw a card. Finds a Djinn. Just get this stuff on board to unclutter the hand. I need to not exile the Sure Shot to the Wolverine. So Murder draws us a card off Intimidation Campaign, and they have no blockers. Throw from the Saddle draws us a card off Intimidation Campaign. Where are you at, Sure Shot? Bottom 8? I feel slightly bad right now, because like this feels like overkill, but it's not. We need to haste the board. We need to draw a little bit more cards. I guess I don't need to haste the board, but that's the only way to be like safe in this format. Because they could just top deck a draw 3, and then that chains into them drawing their whole deck and going crazy. Doing the same thing we just did here. There it is. Hey, let's go. And for good measure, I want to do this at least. I want to see how big this is. How big is this zombie? That's going to be Trample Haste. 62. There's our first game of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Omniscience Draft. Good grief. And here's a look at our first random rare reward. It is a rare from Murders at Karlov Manor, and I have every rare in Murders at Karlov Manor, so it's some gems towards another draft. Here we are for game 2 with what looks like an unbeatable hand, honestly. We humiliate them to get rid of their counterspell if they have one. And then we draw at least 4. If they don't have a counterspell, we make them discard their mana value 4 or greater card off of the Humiliate, so that Hollow Marauder is guaranteed to draw us a card. They're going to be down to 1 card in hand here. Alright, they're going to respond with Metamorphic Blast, draw 2. And what do they have? They have multiple mana value 4 or greater cards in hand. They have Loan Shark to draw a card. They have Badlands Revival to pick up the Loan Shark. They have a Gigapede to kill our Hollow Marauder. They have this Town 8 big enough to pick up a Loan Shark, Gigapede, draw more cards. This is a really, really nice deck from our opponent here. Very nice hand. It's a rough choice. I think I have to just get rid of the Badlands Revival here. Although if I don't get rid of this Town 8 big enough, then I can't haste kill them with Cactus Folk Sure Shot. I don't know. I'm going to get rid of the Revival. Actually, literally every card in their hand means we don't draw a card off of the Hollow Marauder. This is rough. Alright, we know we can draw 3. They can't do anything about that. Oh no. Well, I guess we are not going to combo them out. Because those are 3 filler cards, sadly. Well, we dump everything on the board then, and then throw from the saddle next turn. Oh, or not. I guess they see Hollow Marauder, they know they're going to be down to 2 cards, and they know we have 3 other cards, and they just assume they're good enough. Let's go. It could also be because I took a little while there on the discard on the first play for sure. So like, I don't want to play against this slow man. Fair enough. Slow poke our way into victory. We are 2-0. Grabbing our second random rare reward. Ooh, this one is going to be an actual card. We find Tiny Bones joins up from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Join the party, my friend. Here we are for game 3, the third and maybe final game. This hand is not excellent, because they probably discard a mana value for a greater card, and then we just have a few good threats. Ooh, they didn't, which means we can try to keep going here. Do I draw one blind, or do I just hold on to Tornado? I feel like in this format I draw one blind. There we go, that was a good one. Find Corrupted Conviction. Probably sack the 4-2 because Sheriff could be bigger later, or do I just sack the 3-3 Sheriff? You know what? I'm just going to sack the 3-3 Sheriff. Because we know Grizzly's big enough for Trample Haste. We get it to that point, no matter what. Oh, let's go. They actually don't have any creatures on board, so I can't commit a crime right now. Yeah, oof. I have 2 crimes, but they don't have creatures for me to cast those. So we have to stop here. Free Strider Commando. That's it. Okay, let's commit a crime and do a lot of damage. This is close to lethal already. Actually, it already is lethal if they have no response. That's 21 damage. Intimidation Campaign's going to shoot them for another 1. Ooh, very nice. Corrupted Conviction, their own creature against the steal spell. We could maybe kill them. Well, yeah. If we draw into Fling, that'll do it. Oh, actually, no, it won't. It'll be 2 damage off. Thought it would do it. Actually, it's only 1 damage off. Because it's a crime. So if I draw... Okay, they're done. I was going to say, if I draw 1 more crime, they're still dead. So we sack 4 power, shoot them to 2, pick up Intimidation Campaign, recast Intimidation Campaign, they go to 1. And apparently they just hit their filler there. So they were already over it. That is 3-0 in the Omniscience Draft Events. We will get our final, most exciting reward, the Mystery Cosmetic. It's just a random cosmetic. Out of all the cosmetics on Arena, at least all of the ones you can buy with like gold and gems, I don't think you can get any like Fallout cosmetics or My Little Pony cosmetics or anything, any of the stuff you had to spend actual money on. But you can get avatars, you can get sleeves, you can get some cool stuff if you are lucky. Most of the time you just get a Parallax card style, so that is what I'm just crossing my fingers, hoping not to get, because that's the least exciting mystery cosmetic, but we'll see. We'll take anything. And we do get a Parallax card style. These are just the most boring prize you can get, the most common one. They hand them out like candy just all the time. So not an incredible final prize, but the event was completely free. It was a pretty fun time, so cannot complain here. We got some gems and a rare from today's events. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.